Die regering het vandag konsepregulasies in die staatskoerant gepubliseer wat die rigting aandui oor hoe Suid-Afrika voortaan Covid-19 sal hanteer. Dit laat egter steeds baie onbeantwoorde vrae.
Daar is groot ongelukkigheid in sommige kringe omdat die ramptoestand met nog 'n maand verleng is. Maar mediese kenners waarsku ook die 5de golf infeksies is om die draai. Absa het hierdie week bekend gemaak sy modellering dui daarop die 5de golf sal aan die einde van April tref. 'n Navorser van die Wetenskaplike en Nywerheidsnavorsingsraad sê 'n nuwe variant kan sake omkrap.
For a fifth wave, it would be necessary for another variant to displace the currently dominant Omicron variant and then to become dominant and be responsible for a further resurgence in infections. What we do know is that the Omicron variant is highly transmissible, the most transmissible of the variants that we've experienced thus far. For another variant to become dominant, it would have to displace or outcompete the currently highly transmissible Omicron variant. So it would have to be more transmissible than Omicron, which in itself is quite a feat.
Volgens die Nasionale Instituut vir Oordraagbare Siektes was daar tydens die 4de golf minder sterftes en mense wat in die hospitaal opgeneem moes word. Discovery se groot baas sê egter ons moet steeds waaksaam wees.
The variants emerge in parallel. So Omicron isn't related to Delta, isn't related to Beta. These things emerge in parallel. So there's no necessary obvious reason why the next wave should be any less benign, more severe, whatever it is. It's in parallel, maybe independent. Ultimately, the virus does become more benign and endemic, but are we there yet? We don't know. So I guess our view tends to be that a wave could come end of April, early May on the same kind of pattern, and it may be more severe. We still think that is unlikely, but it is a risk, and therefore I think from what we've seen, we need to be careful not to take a hard view. And I think the overriding position as a planner or as a business leader is to hope for the best, expect the best, but plan for the worst. Make sure you can survive some severity of wave, and I think that's critical going forward.
Die feit dat soveel mense al voorheen COVID gehad het en baie ook ingeënt is, het daartoe bygedra dat die Omicron variant nie so dodelik as sy voorgangers was nie.
So the hope then therefore going forward is that even with future variants, that high level of immunity would offer protection, and even if when we see more infections or resurgence, it wouldn't necessarily translate into hospitalization or death.
Suliman dink nie daar was enige rede om die ramptoestand te verleng nie.
All of the indicators are still continue to move downwards. The infection rates as well as the test positivity are steadily declining. Nationally, we're averaging just under 1,500 cases per day on average across the country over the past week at a test positivity rate of on average 6%. So those indicators are declining. And more importantly, in terms of hospitalizations and deaths, those indicators are moving towards the previous lowest levels that we've seen in the pandemic. Hospitals are at no risk of being burdened or overwhelmed, and the number of reported deaths nationally stands at just about 15 per day, which is approaching the lowest levels we've seen since the onset of the first wave back in May 2020.
Die DA het ook vandag aangekondig die party beoog regstappe om die ramptoestand onwettig te verklaar.